Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, this is Kenyan Revolutionary for another session after a while, a short break, but I will still go back to, oh, you know, my self break. I'll take a break from politics a little bit because I got so much stuff going on. But I just want to briefly talk about something today, okay? And what I want to talk about is basically the state, not the state of our nation, but let me just say the state of our politics, how we run our politics. Layers of deception in Kenyan politics. I will be very brief. I won't stay here for long. For obvious reasons, I have errands to run and things to do. And for those of you who've been wondering what's been happening in this channel, like I said, I've been caught up. And again, these hackers have really dug deep into my stuff. So I'm kind of unraveling stuff. But with time, give me time, a few more months, and we shall be back running in full swing, okay? So in case you're joining me, ladies and gentlemen, or you're going to watch this on repeat, my name is Kenyan Revolutionary. As I said, I talk about Kenyan politics and world politics as it relates to Kenya. So if you like that kind of content, I'm your political nutritionist, dietitian. So join in, subscribe, share, comment, do all the good stuff, and put that notification bell on so every time I come in, you can always find me here. So do that. And if you've already subscribed, you know the first order of business is to do what? Like the video, okay? Karibuni sana. Layers of deception in Kenyan politics. Now, as you can see, there's a lot happening in the world. Like I told you, I'm your political dietitian. We're going to talk about world politics as it relates to Kenya, right? So there's a lot happening in the world, okay? France, the French government is collapsing. Macron is facing a vote of no confidence. He's probably going to get kicked out because France is dying. Of course, Putin must be laughing at the background because Putin is the engineer of this the French government falling. Of course, Macron was part of the, he worked for Goldman Sachs back in the day. He's said to be one of the Rothschilds. He's related to the Rothschilds. You know that, okay? But anyway, that's not where I'm going with this. But what I'm trying to highlight here is that there's a lot happening in the world, and it also is related to what is happening in Kenya. Like I say, the French are falling apart. The French government has collapsed, basically. They are planning to have a mass protest tomorrow. The ultra racist nationalists are blaming the immigration for the crimes and all this stuff that's happening in France. So they're planning to have a huge, massive a protest in France, okay? Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because you remember the liberation of Burkina Faso and the Sahel nation have everything to do with what's happening in France, okay? I told you the connection between France and Niger and Burkina Faso and Mali, okay? If you watch my videos from back in the day, a few months ago, I told you what Putin was doing to France, okay? The French were one of those loudest voices among the NATO allies, okay, NATO alignment, who are really pro, attacking Russia. So what Putin did was, okay, he said, if you guys are going to try to bomb Russia and, give Ukraine a lot of ammunition to come attack Russia, then this is what I'll do. I'll cut off your supply because the French government, the state of France, the country, France, heavily depends on its colonial, its colonies in the West Africa. Now, you might argue that colonialism ended, but it pretty much did not end, okay? It still goes on. They were in control of a lot of resources. 90% of the resources in Western Africa, especially the Sahel nations, France was still extracting natural resources from the ground, okay, to power its nuclear plants in France, okay? They were mining gold, they were mining copper, they were doing all this stuff, okay? That's how they were getting their energy, and that's how they're getting the minerals, and that's how France actually stayed afloat economically. Okay? So when Putin realized this, he said, hey, you know what? You want to attack Russia by funding Ukraine and using Ukraine as a proxy to attack us? I will do the same. He reached out to Burkina Faso's president, okay, and Malian president, and what's the other country? I forgot. Niger. And they helped those captains, military, juntas, to take over the country and cut off the French from, extracting the natural minerals, And within months, the French government started feeling the losses, okay? They were, the economy started drowning, and, the power shortages in France, And remember, when Burkina Faso, when Captain Ibrahim Traore took over Burkina Faso, the first thing he did was to kick out the French and the Americans and every colonialist that was in holding or extracting minerals from their country, okay? And they fought the terrorists on the north who were being funded by the French militias, French soldiers, okay? So now you see Macron is facing a vote of no confidence. He's probably going to get kicked out, and Le Pen, the lady who her grandfather used to be, I think, ran for presidency back in the day for France, is most likely going to be the next French president or whatever the case is. So we'll watch and see what happens. But hey, you might be sitting there saying, hey, listen, what are you talking about? This is a Kenyan politics. We're talking about Kenyan politics. We're supposed to be talking about the layers of deception in Kenyan politics. I'm coming there. I told you. I'm your political dietitian. I'm going to walk you through and help you understand what's happening in Kenya. Now, let's move over. It's not only France that this stuff is happening. Look at what's happening in Nepal. Nepal. Is that how you say it? Another popular uprising, the People's Revolution, is happening as we speak right now in Nepal, okay? This was followed by Sri Lanka also happened. Remember Sri Lanka? Indonesia. It's happening. The youth of these countries, Indonesia, we saw this in last week when the parliamentarians of Indonesia, decided to vote for salary increase for themselves. And the youth took up the streets and burned down the parliament. Now, exact thing is happening in Nepal. Okay? The parliamentarians were exposed for corruption and all other sorts of a mess that they've been doing. And what did the youth do? The youth stood up, and let me not say the youth because this is not only confined to the youth. It was the citizens of that country. Of course, the majority of them who were on the streets were the youth because they're strong, they're young, they're very, very, they have the energy, okay? So they stood up and went and caught up with some of the parliamentarians, and they, roughed them up and did whatever they had to do, burned down the building and all sorts of stuff. So we can see popular uprising happening in these different countries, okay? Especially the Western-backed countries. Now, some people are asking, especially the youth in Kenya are asking themselves, hey, where did we go wrong? Because we were actually one of the first countries who stood up and occupied parliament, and we almost burned it down. Sisi tulienda kakula mchele, okay? And we were supposed to go to State House, then the whole movement stopped. What did we do wrong? What happened? Why? So here's the thing, buddy. Listen carefully, okay? And this is where the layers of deception in Kenyan politics happens, okay? We were the first ones, at least let me not say the first ones, but we had a popular uprising in Kenya with the Gen Z movement last year in June 25th, when we went and occupied the parliament successfully, okay, and scared the political class shitless, okay? The move was supposed to go ahead and go to the State House so we can actually occupy State House and move Ruto out of power through a popular revolution, which is constitutional. But since then, the government made a concerted effort to infiltrate this Gen Z movement, define it as a tribal outfit, and to some extent, it has diffused, pacified the Gen Z movement. I'm not saying totally obliterated it, but to a good extent has quite pacified this movement, because you never hear anybody talking about Occupy State House. Only a few guys, okay? Like this channel and other people. And you can see the kind of attack I am facing. You know, my viewership has been manipulated with the algorithm through the help of the Kenyan government and some powerful politicians who are behind these minions who have been hacking this channel. Okay, because they want to make sure that the voices of dissent are absolutely drowned and has no reach. They do not want anyone to give the Kenyan youth, the people of Kenya, any ideas of actually revolutionizing the corrupt system of governance that is in Kenya. So now you see the only platforms that you see are out there are platforms that talk about the general nonsense, not tribal, but general political drama that happens in Kenya. It is never about solutions. It's just about discussion for the sake of discussions, no real resolution to the problems that we face, no advocacy of justice, no agitation, no highlighting of these conmen and women that has been conning Kenya. Okay? It's just political entertainment. And it's unfortunate, but that's the reality that we live in. Okay? I always give this example that, hey, what's the difference between Wamunyoro and Miguna Miguna? What's the difference? Why is it that some of these politicians can say some outlandish stuff and nothing happens to them? They still have their platforms. They still walk around talking all this nonsense. Okay? But when somebody like Miguna, I'm using that example, him for example, when he talks about these things and expose the corruption that happens in Kenya, they will arrest him and forcefully exile him, deplatform him, make sure that he does not have any time in any media. Why? The difference is these people that you see, like the Wamunyoro, these are fake people. They're working with the government to maintain status quo. They're just playing the part to fool the gullible, but they do not want the fundamental changes to happen in Kenya, a total revolution. They do not want a total overhaul. They want to perpetuate this same system of corrupt government. Okay, so here it is. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. The question was, why is it that Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and now Nepal are successful in their popular uprising against the corrupt system that exists in their specific countries? Why is it that they succeeded and we did not succeed? What happened? What did we wrong? How did we go wrong? Now I'll explain to you how we went wrong. And I want you to follow me carefully, because like I said, I won't be here for long. I'll be very here briefly. Now, if you look at the Kenyan case, the government, the political class, conjured up a plan, a very effective plan. They propped up individuals, personalities that infiltrated these different organizations and associations, the Gen Z movement, these platforms that give time to revolutionaries, people who talk about revolutionary ideas, okay, how we can overhaul the system, effective ways. Okay? They used people, personalities, to come to these platforms and popularize these guys, make them popular. For example, Caswell is a perfect example, okay? Okay? The guy came in. I used to tell you guys, if you look at my videos back then, I used to say, there's something about this guy that really smells like shit. I don't know what it is, but there's something about this guy that does not sit well with me. He talks all the good stuff, but I just do not trust him. I couldn't quite put a finger to it. And long behold, he came out and now he's fully admitting that he's working with the political class. And is actually vehemently uh, 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 defending the status quo, okay? With a little nuanced answers like, oh, we are ODM, we are not quite government, whatever the case is. Laban Messiani, nice seeing you, brother. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is this. The system, the political system, this political class, these colonial stooges that influence our politics, the guys that are paraded in the media every day in, day out, okay? Namely, Raila Odinga's, Ruto, of course, Gachagua, Martha Karua, Matiangi, Eugene Wamalwa, okay? These idiots that we see along on TV all the time, okay? Claiming that they're running for president, or Kiam Tatas, whatever, that's former justice, chief justice. These idiots, busybodies that you see on TV that are paraded in your face every day, always busy, trying to pretend that they're fighting for a cause, or they're fighting for whatever, they're fighting for whatever. You see what I'm saying? These people, okay, that have given these platforms with the exclusive, nonsensical 2-hour interviews talking about nothing, gossips basically. Oh, Ruto do this, Ruto Nininio, 2-term, 1-term, 3-term, whatever the case is. Okay? These are the people who are perpetuating this fuckery, okay? Designed to keep you busy. But here's how they did it. They raised up personalities, young people who are in their pockets, okay? Who are paid, who come in pretending that they're also with the movement. They want change. They talk a good talk. They talk about legacy politicians. They talk about change. They talk about how they want things to work. They always find something to talk about that's wrong with the system. Okay? This is how you can tell that they're fakers, okay? They're very quick to point out what's wrong with the system. But where you will find that if you want to know that they are fakers, this is how you test them. Ask them, and what would you propose as to how we are going to change the system? Because we have a systemic problem, okay? System is a mechanism that is put in place that can operate without you actually being there present, running the day-to-day, micro-managing it. So even if Raila Odinga leaves, dies, and moves on, the corrupt system of corruption will still go on. Even if Ruto is removed tomorrow, the corrupt political system in place will continue. Even if Kenyatta leaves Uhuru like the way he left, the corrupt system still goes on. Even if Gachagua becomes the president and leaves, the system, the corrupt political system at place will still go on. Even if Matiangi becomes the president of Kenya, you will still have a corrupt system of governance, because the problem is the system, not the particular individual. These individuals just play a part, okay, in this system. They're either marketing it, implementing the policies that are within the system, not even the policies, but implementing the corrupt colonial Western policies that they put place to continue with this virtual, perpetual colonial state that we are in. Okay? So these Matiangis, these Raila, these Matakaruas, these Kalonzos, these are just stooges who are doing their part as part of this corrupt political system that is in place. You understand what I'm saying? They don't have to be there. They can retire tomorrow, but the system will still go on. And you can see that now they're rebranding themselves. That's why they're calling for an intergenerational conclave bullshit. Because the legacy politicians, as we call them, these old folks are facing their deaths. They're politically irrelevant. No one believes them anymore. They're a bunch of exposed, corrupt politicians. No one has faith in them. Nobody believes in Raila Odinga. Nobody believes in Wamunyoro. Nobody believes in Matiangi. Nobody believes in Martha Karua. Nobody believes in Kalonzo. Nobody believes in Nini Wamalwa. You see what I'm saying? Rectangular. Because we've seen these faces since 1921. And all they've been doing, they've been always been part of this corrupt system. And they've been the biggest beneficiary of it. So the young folks who are a new breed generation, who are exposing and saying that, hey, listen, you guys have been around since Jesus was on earth. You guys have been around since time immemorial. You keep on talking about nonsense, change, I don't know what, good governance, anti-corruption, tribalism, the same nonsense that you talk about in every political electioneering year. Year in, year out. You talk about all this good talk, but your name is embroiled in the worst scandals of corruption. Year in, year out. We know Nani, the speaker of the house, what's his name? Whether it's Amos Kingi or the other one, the one from Busia, what's his name? Huh? Yule alikuwa anauza gold huko na Raila na Uhuru. Amos Kingi have been stealing money in Coast. All of them, Kalonzo, Raila, Martha Karua, Ruto, but they're very every year. But here it is. Let me not get up besides myself. So let's go back to what I was saying. So what is happening in Kenya, and I'll come back to why we haven't succeeded as the Indonesians and the Nepal and Sri Lanka, okay, and Bangladesh, why we haven't had those uprisings. I will explain to you very quickly, but let me just help you walk you through this. So the general ethos, the general feeling among the Kenyan people is that we are tired of these legacy politicians. You see this, I mean, you see the so-called united opposition. I mean, these people are so tired. They look tired. They sound tired. There's nothing refreshing about them. Okay? Nice seeing you, Gypsy Corner. Nice seeing you again. James Gas like Kenyan Gold. You know? Life is lifing, but I'll be back. You see what I'm saying? So the general mood of Kenyan people is like, we are tired of these same faces. Every year, every 5 years, every 10 years, these people have been here. They talk a good talk, but their name is embroiled in corruption cases and murder, racketeering, terrorist activities. Name it. Kenya is a criminal state. So what I'm trying to say is this. They've recognized, they understand that their time is up. So what they're doing is grooming new faces that will continue with this system, colonial corrupt system, to continue take over. Like I told you, a system is a mechanism put in place that can operate when you're absent or not. Okay? It is autonomous in itself. Inaweza kuendelea tu hivyo, system. The system inaendelea of corruption. Si lazima wakina nani Raila wakuwa hapo. But what they are doing is that they want to, in order for them to stay safe, because they understand once you disrupt the system and you destroy that system, everyone is in trouble. Everyone that has been a beneficiary of that system is in trouble. Starting from the people who are perpetuating it and the people who have benefited from it from the past. So, for example, if we have a president in Kenya who comes in and say, listen, let's now follow this constitution as it is to the letter. The people who have stolen money from independence should pay up, pay restitution, and face jail time. What do you think will happen? Everyone will be in trouble. So what they're doing is, what these political class are doing is, they're grooming the Caswells, the young folks, for them to take over. They're the next generation, the Malalas, okay? The Hanifas. All of these clowns will be running for positions in 2027. You'll see them if it stays that way. Because they're the next generation who will continue, because the ultimate beneficiaries of this corrupt system is Buckingham Palace. But they're okay with these clowns looting as much as they can, as long as the mineral, the natural minerals of Kenya, the land and what it produces, is to the benefit of the British Crown. Hii pesa ndogo ndogo ambao akina Ruto na Murkomen wanaiba, and Raila, and Uhuru, and Kalonzo and Karua, hii pesa kidogo kidogo wanaiba hivi is not something that they are worried about there in Buckingham Palace. They are not worried about that. What they worry about is they want to make sure that the land mass in Kenya, whatever it produces, benefits the British Crown. You understand? These are just minions that are put there to do that, to chaperone over the people. Okay? Now, let's get to what I'm trying to say. The big question. Why is it that Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, okay, and Nepal now, and in Indonesia, they were successful in the uprising, in their revolution, people's revolution. They went and took over the government and said, enough is enough of this corruption. We are not going on. We are not going to live like this. We are going to change the system. We are not going on with this corrupt system. What happened? Why is it that they are successful and we are not successful in Kenya? This is the reason why. Like I say, all the platforms where people can gather to discuss issues of Kenya and how we can resolve them, there are people in place that are hired by this political class. They are hired to infiltrate, get information, and mobilize people under an idea. Okay? So, for example, Boniface Mwangi was for a long time thought to be somebody who was genuinely out there fighting for the human rights of a lot of Kenyans. By now, it is very clear Boniface Mwangi and Ruto are working pamoja, together. Hanifa the same. Kasmuel the same. You see what I'm saying? Shakira, I don't know, Shakira Wafula, the same. Okiomtata, the same. Now, like I told you, if you want to identify that these people are fake, listen to their answer when you ask them, how can we change this corrupt system? They'll all tell you that we have to change it in the next elections. Because to them, they're trying to convince you that the only way you can take out this system down, Ruto and all these people, the only way you can take them down is through what? Electoral process. That is what they'll tell you. And they will tell you that that's the only constitutional way that they can take out somebody. Even the Safina party, they have people who talk a good talk like Willis Otieno. Very eloquent. says nice things. Oh, this is how we want to change things. Oh, the Gen Z, we are with them. We want to audit the debt, and the debt is this. But the bottom line, him and his boss, Jimmy Wanjigi, what is their solution? Oh, let's wait till 2022 when Ruto shall lose, because Ruto will only have 4 million votes from Rift Valley. That's their solution. And that's the constitutional way of removing Ruto. That is the only reason. I'll tell them, that's the way to identify them. If you want to identify somebody that is part of this corrupt system and is supporting this system, but they're pretending that they have these new wonderful ideas to take out Ruto, because Ruto has been demonized as the face of what is wrong with Kenya. And then we have a fake opposition who are legacy politicians, not so different from Ruto. They know we don't like them. And the system, the people in the political class understand that Ruto is not popular, and the opposition, this Wakina Martha Karua and Matiang'i and Wamunyoro, they're not popular. So they're coming up with a new way, new faces. You understand? New faces. Ndio maana unaona wakina Babu Owino and Senator, what is his name? Sifuna and Wamuchomba, to try to come up with something new, because they understand that people are not buying into the united opposition, and they're not buying on Ruto and Raila. They understand, they've been exposed. So they're bringing these new faces that are pretending to be something fresh, something new. But if you listen to the kind of resolution they're proposing, it is the same thing Ruto is saying. Let us go to the election in 2027. Let's just wait till 2027. That's the only way we can succeed. That's the only way we can actually bring change, by removing Ruto through the ballot. That is how you identify them. And they will try to convince you that going to the battle is going to the ballot box, voting in 2027 is the only way we can remove Ruto. That's the only way. That's how they're going to tell you. That's how you identify them. They'll tell you, oh, I roll my eyes every time people like customers say, oh, going to the streets is a bloody business. You don't want to send our young people to go die in the streets. Even the ODM members are now, they will tell you, we don't want to go to the streets because we don't want our young people to die. As if when they didn't think destroy property and cause mayhem. Thank you. Like Gypsy's Corner is saying, election process is a common game with these greedy goons. Ruto with there in 180. So you see what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is this, so that I can make it brief. There are layers of deception that are designed to pacify any idea of a popular revolution in Kenya. Number one is to raise a fake movement comprised of young or perceived to be young, fresh politicians with new ideas who are going to pretend that they're tired of the old guard. But the resolution that they shall propose will be no different from what Ruto and Wamunyoro and the rest of these political corrupt elites are proposing, which is, let's just wait till 2027 so that we can have a chance to overwhelmingly vote Ruto out. That is what they will tell you. And that's how you identify that these people are actually fakes. They are paid merchants of impunity. Hear me well. So you saw Faith Odhiambo has also exposed herself. She was pretending, the head of LSK. Oh, I care about the justice for those people who are shot. Oh, now you see where she's at? They're exposing themselves, everyone. What? It's a good thing, actually. I'm not even mad at her. I'm glad they're exposing themselves. So, what these people are doing is this, and these are the layers. They've understood that Kenyans do not like, do not trust, do not want the political class. They know they are the enemy of the people. So what they're doing is they're going to, the level one of the deception is trying to create a political movement surrounding the young, youthful politicians, these noisemakers like the Babu Owinos, the Wamuchomba, the Sifuna, these loud mouths, okay? These noisemakers who are perceived to be entertaining when they go to the in the TV shows, talk shows, Sifuna, making a lot of noise with no action, okay? So while they excite the masses and appear to be very, having revolutionary ideas, but in reality they don't, these are the people that they are using to come together to pretend that they also have their movement that will actually take out Ruto in 2027. Like I say, the way to identify them is when they tell you that 2027 is the day that is the at the polls is the way to remove Ruto. That is how you identify them. So they're busy creating these political parties and political movement. So the first layer is to bring together established politicians that are perceived to be young, youth in age. The Sifuna, Babu Owino, Wamuchomba, Osoro, this known corrupt criminal politicians, okay? They put them there to form an alliance, a political party, to excite the masses, to try to fool you that this is the new movement. Oh, Sifuna is leaving Baba and Raila because Sifuna is so principled, but he's not moving and he's not doing anything different. If anything, he's still working with them But he talks a good talk. Babu Owino convince you that he's the next governor of Nairobi. He's saying all this good stuff, but Babu Owino, in the bottom line, is Babu Owino should be in Kodiaga for shooting somebody. He's not going anywhere. Wamuchomba is a pretender, a well-known tribalist, pretends just because he had a few brownie points for rejecting a finance bill back then. Okay? So I'm giving you an example of how that's the first level. They're using established politicians that are perceived to be young and having fresh ideas, but they're working within and benefit from the system that exists. That's the level one. The first level of deception that they're using. And all they're telling you is that we are going to form a new alliance government, the Ndindi Nyoros, with Sifuna and Babu Owino and Wamuchomba. They're telling you that they're going to form a political party that are going to floor Ruto and Raila and the rest. That's the first deception. The second deception is this. Okay? They are going to create a fake counter-revolutionary struggle. A fake counter-revolutionary struggle. This will comprise of, in fact, they already exist. This is the Boniface Mwangi crew. They're filled with non-commercial activists. Have you noticed that? They're always one clique. They hang out together. They visit each other. The kids play with each other. Martha Karua, Boniface Mwangi, Hanefa. What's that musician that's that's dating the Neo? That's dating is dating the former governor of Machakos, Ninio wife. I don't know whatever his name is. Kwa rende moja. Martha Karua, Boniface Mwangi, That's a human rights guy. What's his name? Ahmed something, whatever case is. I forgot. Hassan something. I forgot his name. Okay? They're always one click. The former Chief Justice who ninio ambaye alikuwa hapo siku za Kibaki. What's his name? He always hang out with Boniface Mwangi a lot. Okay? This is the fake tier, the second tier of deception, of pretenders, okay, that are basically pretending to be activists. They're very loud, talking about human rights bull crap about I don't know who in Uganda and in Tanzania. Okay, the Boniface Mwangi. So they already have, even them, they have a political. Even Boniface Mwangi is running for president. You saw them. Yeah, wakwapo wanajifanya ati hao ndio sasa, hao ndio they are going to be this is a political they're the human rights crew. They are in for change. They want change. That's the other crew. But that's not enough. That's the second tier of deception. The third one are the newly freshly recruited Gen Z. Okay? Zile sura ulikuwa unaona huko siku za Gen Z after June 25th. Those are the ones that they're getting now. The Caswells. Okay? Remember when Jeff Koinange brought those young idiots that he was interviewing? The Caswell and the other, I can't even remember the other guy, Wangari, something Wangari. All those young folks that are called Gen Z, okay? They're talking as if being a Gen Z qualifies you to hold a public office, or you're qualified just because you're a Gen Z. Oh, we need young people, blah, blah. That's the third tier of deception. Okay? And the fourth one is now the influencers online. Wale ambao wanaandika, of course, they are the obvious ones. I'm not talking about Ogoda and all these idiots, okay? I'm not talking about those, okay? Those are already known. We know the Ogoda, we know where they go. Njeru, I don't know what. We already know those people. We know they are gone. There are those that are pretending. Tena wanajifanya wako na a powerful zeal to remove Ruto. But again, the common denominator with all these fakers is that they will tell you, ngojeni 2027, that's when we shall, Ruto atatoka mapema asubuhi. We shall remove him mapema asubuhi. In 2027, atatoka mapema. That's always their thing. They'll be overwhelming votes against Ruto. That's what they are telling you. They always point at 2027 elections as the only constitutional means of removing Ruto, which is a lie. So using these 4 tiers to excite the masses, because they want to convince you that a popular revolution will be messy, bloody, and people shall lose their lives in numbers. So let's just wait till 2027 where we can remove Ruto by overwhelmingly voting against him, voting him out. That is how that's how they're going to, they always talk like that. They fail and do not want to highlight the fact that the Constitution of Kenya, the first article of the Constitution, gives power to the people, and they can exercise it directly. So in the event that the people who are sovereign, okay, feel that they're not being represented, they have the right to fire these public officials immediately. They don't have to wait till 2027. And IEBC has shown us that they're not going to respect the people's will. They cannot act independently. Removing Esther Passaris is a problem. They're still playing around that issue, which tells you that IEBC has been compromised. So in that event, why should the people wait for 2027 for an already rigged process of electing new public officials? What needs to be done is for the people to exercise their sovereign authority by directly exercising the power that has been vested in them as a people, to remove Ruto and every public official now. Not 2027 through elections, but now. That's why I told you that I will not waste my vote. Ruto and his diehard supporters like Labal are here to say, yes, that is where we failed. So the difference between the Kenyan context with Indonesia, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, why those people are successful and we are not successful is because we are still being distracted, deceived by these political entertainers that are working all in tandem, trying to convince us that we should wait till 2027 and vote through a corrupt, rigged, predetermined system that will produce an already determined outcome and convince you that that is democracy with very little transparency, if not transparency at all, during the process. They're all speaking the same language, 2027. Ndio maana I keep on maintaining here that anyone, any public official, any presidential candidate, anybody who is claiming to say all these wonderful things, as long as he tells you that we should wait till 2027 for elections to vote Ruto out or to vote all these people out or whatever the case is, know that that person is an Inyo. He's working for the system, this corrupt system. I don't care who he is, whether he's from Safina, whether he's from Sijui Nani, whether he's no anyone. It is the people who are supposed to rise up now, not 2027, to remove Ruto and the whole political corrupt system now. That's why I keep on telling you, Wamunyoro, huyu Gachagua, Martha Karua, Raila, Ruto, they're all pretending to be against each other, but they already know the final results. Hii sasa ni mchezo tu hapa na pale, kuchengana hapa na pale. But they all don't want the people to decide and to do what Sri Lankans are doing, to do what Bangladesh did, to do what Indonesia is doing, to do what Nepal, as we speak, are doing. They don't want that. So those are the 4 levels of deception that are keeping majority of Kenyans from going to the streets to remove Ruto from power, Ruto and the whole political class, and usher in the 2010 constitution as it was intended. Fully implement that constitution. They don't want that. They'll just tell you, oh, wait till 2027, tutatua Ruto 27, oh, wait till 2027, we shall vote for people who have integrity. But if you look at all these people who are talking about integrity, they lack none. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, I will leave it here. Laban, nice seeing you. Gypsy Corner, nice seeing you. I have to leave it here. Like, share, subscribe, and do all the good stuff. I'll see you guys later. Peace and blessings.